Hello, I am Ronan Chris Murphy, and welcome to this episode of my recording show here at Recording Bootcamp. And we're going to talk about something really simple but really important. What are the best headphones for recording? And before we dive into that, I need to get three things straight. The first is we're talking about recording. We're just focusing on tracking and the headphones to wear while you're playing the music. Getting into mixing or mastering, that's a whole different discussion we can get into in the future. The second, anytime you're talking about audio playback, you're talking about things that are completely flawed. I don't care whether it's a $10 set of headphones or a $30,000 pair of mastering speakers. All audio playback is messed up in some way or another, and it just isn't messed up in ways that we like or can work with. So anytime you're talking about speakers or headphones, really subjectivity is a huge part of it. So we're going to talk about headphones that work really well for me and that I like to use in my daily work. And the third thing here is I'm pretty busy making records, so there are hundreds of headphones that I have not gotten around to trying. So these are just the things that work for me. So if something's not on the list, it means I don't know, I don't have an opinion, or it didn't make the cut. Doesn't mean I'm right and somebody else is wrong. But if you have headphones that you love for tracking that aren't on the list, would love it if you left those in the comment section. And hopefully not just the name, but also why you like them, what they bring to your work that makes you love them so much. But here are the ones that I love and I like to use day in and day out when I'm producing records. Number one on the list, the Shure SRH 840s. These are about $199, even go on sale for a little bit less than that from time to time. And oddly enough, these are actually one of my favorite all-around headphones. Not super expensive, but there's just something about them that sounds really right and balanced to me. When I listen to things on this, not only do they sound nice to listen to, but things sort of make sense to me. Records that I'm really used to and listening to on big speakers or in the car or at home, when I put them on the headphones, it makes sense. Things are in places that I like. So I use these a lot as a general purpose headphone, but I really like them for tracking. One, because they have that great, to me, balanced sound, but also they're fairly comfortable. Pretty darn good isolation and a great all-arounder. This is actually when I'm traveling around the world working on a lot of remote projects. These are the headphones I like to bring with me as my main working pair of headphones. And if I could have only one style of headphone at the recording studio, it would be these Shure 840s. Shure also has a new model, I think the 1540, which are amazing sounding. They sound really wonderful, but there's something I really like about these in a way that's totally subjective. And also the new ones are about $500. And musicians have this weird thing where they just love to just drop headphones on the floor for no reason whatsoever. And the idea of watching musicians drop $500 headphones just gives me the willies. So the new ones are not going to go on the list because they're a bit too expensive in my opinion for a tracking headphone. And just subjectively, I really dig the way the Shure SRH 840s sound, and musicians tend to love them as well. Number two on the list was a big surprise for me when I saw headphones from Vic Firth, the company who makes drumsticks, and they also make pepper grinders as well, oddly enough. But this one, I gotta check my notes, the SIH1, I think they call them officially, but it just says Vic Firth on them. And they're basically isolation headphones. So the great thing I can say about these Vic Firths is they don't sound terrible. Well, why is that high praise? Well, two things. One is they actually do a pretty darn good job of their main purpose, which is isolating outside sounds from coming into your ears, and they sound pretty passable, and they are dirt cheap, about $50, give or take $5, depending on where you buy them. And the reason you might want to care about isolation headphones is when the ear is isolated from a lot of outside noise, the musician doesn't have to blast the headphones as loud, especially for a drummer who's right there next to that loud stuff, or the guitar player next to a blasted amp, or any other musicians when you've got people tracking together. So If you've got good isolation, you can actually have the musician with lower headphone levels throughout the day. Not only is that good for ear health, but also getting blasted by really high volume levels is actually fatiguing, and you'll actually start to wear out your musicians faster. So the great thing about these is that they sound okay. They do a good job of reducing the outside levels. There's some other companies who make isolation headphones as well, and they're outstanding, but these get my vote just because they do the job really well and they are dirt cheap compared to a lot of other options. And when a drummer smashes them, it doesn't break your heart because it's only about 50 bucks to get new ones. The things you do not want to get for isolation headphones are noise canceling headphones, something like the famous Bose noise canceling headphones. I love those things. They're really great to improve the audio of what I'm listening to when I'm flying on international flights and things like that. The reason those Bose work well is what they do is they cancel out static, low frequency information like the rumble of a jet engine. What they do not do well is actually provide isolation for really loud dynamic stuff. So a pair of noise canceling headphones are actually a really bad choice for trying to do the sound that you would use noise canceling headphones, which these are basically what you would use on a gun firing range with little speakers on the inside. So number 2, the Vic Firth isolation headphones. So number 3 on our list, the Sony MDR 7506s. These are just a staple in recording studios and have been for years and years, including this model. You can see these are just really battle worn at this point. But these are just ubiquitous everywhere. I mean, it's like a Shure SM57 or an LA2A or a Les Paul. You see them all over the place, and they've been great staples in years and years for studios. And why is that? Is that because they're nice and flat and neutral? Nope, not even close. The cool thing about these is these are actually pretty old, but these are pretty hyped in the high end. They've got a real lift in the high end that actually singers love. So when there's that big lift in the high end, which the Sony's managed to do in a way that's not too harsh and unpleasant, singers get a little more detail, a little more clarity. They can hear themselves better, and they also kind of get a sheen that sounds a little bit more glamorous and can be really inspiring to singers, or really any instrumentalist that plays an instrument with a lot of high frequencies like fingerstyle guitar or things like that. So that lift in the high frequencies actually, again, inspires musicians. They enjoy listening to it, and an inspired musician is usually a better musician. These are around $100 or so, and again, I've had this pair for years and years. They're starting to lose a little life in the padding, but they still work great, and they still end up on vocal sessions all the time. Number 4 on the list, I wasn't sure whether or not I would include it, but I'm just trying to give you some honest feedback about what we do here at the studio on a regular basis. And I actually love these Sony MDR V700s. I think they're also called the V700 DJ. And I love them because they're stupid. They were designed for DJs. These are not flat, not accurate by any sense of the imagination. What these are is crazy hyped up in the low end. They're really loud and they're really hyped in the low end. I think the literature claims they go down to 5 hertz. Whenever you think about it, the tiny, tiny little speaker in there going down to 5 hertz. There's a lot of crazy monkey business going on to try and make that happen. So why do I like these? Because they're stupid and fun. And if you've got a musician who needs a lot of low end to be inspired and feel the music, like a bass player might be, or any other musician who really wants to feel the bass, well, these stupid headphones that over-exaggerate that in a really nice way can be just the ticket to do that. Again, inspired musicians are usually better musicians. So again, these were designed with DJs to be really loud and really thump the bass. They're modestly comfortable. They don't provide great isolation, but it's not terrible in that front. So the bummer about this is these have been discontinued, which I only realized when I started putting this list together and trying to put some links to where you could grab these. So the funny thing is you can find them on eBay, and I've seen them go for about 20-25 bucks, but also these are a weird collector's item now. So I've actually seen people asking several $100s for these. I wouldn't pay several hundred for these. So look around on Craigslist or eBay and see if you can actually find a pair, and I would totally pay 30, 40, maybe even 50 bucks for a pair, because I find them really, really useful. Apparently these have been reduced in the Sony line. They have been apparently replaced by the MDR V55/BR DJ style headphones. The reviews and stuff seem pretty good. If they're similar, they'll probably be a very good choice. And they're about 55 bucks or so. So they might be a good choice. A headphone like this is not ideal because it's accurate, flat, or natural. It's ideal because it is fun for the musician. And again, if they're having fun, you're gonna hear it in their performances. So number 5 on the list, engineer Diego, who works here at the studio, thought it should be these Sennheisers, but truth be told, I almost never use them, and actually we can't even find a model number on there. So we're not gonna recommend those, even though Diego's got good ears and I tend to trust him. But what number 5 is gonna be, and this may seem like a joke, but whatever the musician is into. So a lot of times people listen with headphones a lot these days. So if somebody's going to be in working and recording with you, if they've got headphones they really, really enjoy, suggest they bring those in as an option. So even if they're not kind of professional spec, if the musicians know them and enjoy listening on them, why introduce new variables in the studio when you don't have to? So it's not a bad idea to sort of ask your musicians if they've got some headphones that they really like, and suggest they bring those in as one of the options available. One other thing too related to that I want to mention is musician's choice. So a lot of times when you're doing records super fast, you grab something and you make it work. But if you're working on a production where you've got some time, it's not a bad idea to spend some time and just let the musicians go through the headphones and see which ones inspire them. Hook it up to an iPod or something like that and just let them plug them all in and listen, see which one feels really comfortable on their ears, which one is inspiring, and go with that. And the only time that's not really a great idea is if you have some specific concerns about isolation that might outweigh some other concerns about things being enjoyable to listen to. That's one of the reasons why you see no open-backed headphones on this list. I really enjoy open-back headphones for personal fun listening, but they provide really, really bad isolation. That can create problems if you're trying to cut out outside sounds, or if you've got a headphone mix that has a lot of click track or other elements that you don't want bleeding into the mic. Open-back headphones are not that great for you. And so that's our top 5, but the last thing I want to show you is not a headphone at all, but a headphone accessory, which I strongly recommend. And that is the Swirly Hook by Swirlygig. It's a very, very simple solution, but really, really good. Ta-da! Again, it's this weird thing I do not understand. Musicians who are generally really good, cautious people will just finish a take and just boom, drop headphones on the floor, not even realizing they're dropping hundreds of dollars onto the floor and breaking them. The Swirly Hook kind of solves that. So basically, if you tell your musicians, hey, there's this hook here, this is where your headphones go when you're not using them, and you just hook them on a mic stand, once the musician kind of knows that there's a place for these headphones to go, they'll drop them on that hook instead of on the floor. And so for a few bucks here, you might save yourself spending hundreds of bucks here over and over again. So I hope that helps a little bit. And again, if you disagree with any of this or have any headphones that you love, please leave that in your comments with why, because I'm sure there's a lot of people around the world who'd be interested to hear what you love and why. Thanks, have fun, and stay focused on the music.